Go out right now to Fox 10's Ron Hoon, who has been covering this really all morning long with the breaking news. I mean, it was breaking when you were coming in to the studio, Ron, and this is just showcasing, like I was saying, just a very tough situation that police are in right now, where they're not being respected on the streets.
Absolutely, so true. And just to give our viewers now around the country a little more perspective timeline-wise, when we went on the air at 4:30 this morning with our local news here at Fox 10 in Phoenix, police were actively telling people, anybody who was in that area, to remain in their homes. The situation was thought at that point to be tense, dangerous. They just did not know at that point, that was at 4:30 this morning, as to exactly what it was they were dealing with, how grave the threat might have been. Now, we can say that it was about 6 this morning, I think just a few minutes after 6, that the police chief came out. That's Jerry Williams, Phoenix police chief. And she said, her quote that's going to be talked about a lot today is, "If I seem upset, I am. This is senseless. It doesn't need to happen, and it continues to happen over and over again." She's speaking about this community, about the city of Phoenix, obviously one of the largest cities in the country, and a large police force. But we have seen it in cities large and small, the utter lack of respect for police officers, and the fact that one man with a gun was able to do so much damage and open fire on these officers who were simply trying to rescue a baby that had been left on the front porch. We're still trying to determine who that was, so just to back up a little bit, you have the gunman in this situation who is dead. You have a woman who was inside the home, believed to be his ex-girlfriend, who was shot and critically injured. She's in extremely critical condition. And then you have somebody else who was in that home who actually brought the baby out, set the child, we understand now just from this most recent briefing, that was a little baby girl, set the child down in a baby carrier, and then backed up, hands up, and then taken into police custody. Still trying to sort through who that person was. But miracle of miracles, with everything else that was going on, the baby survived. The little girl survived. And yet these officers, with one guy in a matter of a couple of seconds, was able to injure so many of them when he opened fire. And you said it, Mike, here in Arizona, it was just yesterday that our big story was that a tribal police officer up in an area north of Phoenix, maybe 100 miles north of here, not even quite that far, had been shot. And the community is still dealing with the sad news, and yet the prayers that are being offered by the thousands for a Phoenix police officer shot in the line of duty, shot 8 times. And yet his wife said, we are going to continue to hope and pray that he recovers. And he has now been released from the hospital. He's in rehab. It's long-term rehab. Officer Tyler Moldovan. The whole community just seemed to come together to rally around that family. It has been a violent start to the year in this city. And here in the state of Arizona, we've had a number of police officers who've come under direct threat.
Yeah, it really is, Ron. You said it best there, and I wish some people would understand too that for officers out there in the real world, in real life, it's not like how a movie or TV show portrays sometimes a standoff situation. I mean, we saw in that video that we were able to obtain where the officers just this morning going up to the little baby and then being attacked. And it happened in an instant, and you were seeing just how many more officers were able to get injured because of that. And it's remarkable here at this hour that we're not talking about any officers that are dead.
It's incredible. Of course, they go through such a high level of training because of how violent things currently are in this country. And so, you know, the situation, the video shows that it happens so quickly. And what are those officers going to do? They're going to do everything they can, putting their own lives on the line to try to rescue this little one. And that actually is ultimately what happened. But yeah, in a matter of literally 2 or 3 seconds, one gunman, now dead, able to literally impact the lives of that many police officers. The whole situation, just in sheer terms of numbers, is mind-boggling. You have 9 officers hurt. You have the first officer who first responded to the scene and was hit by multiple gunshots. And then this cowardly gunman hiding behind the front door later opens fire, knowing there's a baby on the front porch, and hits 4 other officers in the gunfire. And then we learn there are 4 additional officers who are dealing with what they call bullet shrapnel from those shots that were fired. So 9 officers injured in this shooting today. It does look like none of their injuries are life-threatening, and that's a miracle, because so often it doesn't end that way.
Yeah, that is so true. And the only thing that I worry about now, too, Ron, is obviously this is a huge story here in this market and in this state. But I feel like for the rest of the country, they might just hear a headline about 9 officers that were injured, and that might be the end of the talk there. But it seems like we're not having a big roundtable, maybe national discussion on these officers that are getting injured or killed across the country.
Well, I mean, there's so many aspects to it, Mike. You do, obviously, you've got these weapons that are out there that are high capacity, that some people have called weapons of war, that are on the streets, and they're out there in such large numbers now, and the amount of ammo that can be used to take aim at police officers is frankly almost mind-boggling. And at the same time, you have what would appear to be almost a total lack of understanding that police officers are in that neighborhood because somebody needs help, and they're there. They want to live through that day and be able to go home to their own families, but they put their lives on the line, and one coward, heavily armed, can do that much damage and impact the lives of so many police officers. At the same time, it appears there is just a lack of respect for the job that law enforcement does in measures that I can never recall us dealing with in our country before. So there's just so many factors that probably should be looked at, that certainly are talked about a lot, and yet the threat continues here in an extremely violent start to 2022. Really, frankly, disappointing, and really hard to figure out how we're slipping so deeply into this morass of crime in our country.
Absolutely. Really well said there, Ron Hoon. Thanks so much for joining us here today on Live Now from Fox. I wish we were talking about happier and better things. We'll have to get you back on here for something that's
say the word,
a little
Mike.
More fun. Thanks so much,
Say the
Ron.
word. You bet.
Appreciate